Hello, all you awesome people out there, and welcome back or welcome to Geek Visions Entertainment, the place that is all for film, video games, and television. I'm your host, as always, Hoover, and we are back as we continue on with Dragon Age month, leading up to the release of Dragon Age the Veilguard, which is at this point like a little like 10 days away right now. So it's almost here. We're almost there. So, with this week, we are going to continue on with our rankings of the main quest lines of the game. If you haven't, go back and check out part one. We went over all of Origins, including the Awakening expansion and the Witch Hunt DLC, as well as the first act of Dragon Age 2. So in part two here, we'll continue off straight from there. This will be Acts 2 and 3 of Dragon Age 2, along with its DLCs, and then the entirety of Inquisition and the three DLCs for that as well. Uh, and hopefully we'll see how this goes. Hopefully we'll see if I can actually get this shorter than I had part one last time. But yeah, but of course, before we get started, I will ask you please go out, like I said, check out part one. Check out all the other videos we have for our Dragon Age month as well. I have my biggest questions leading into Dragon Age Veilguard, as well as um my biggest concerns for the Veilguard as well. Where I ask, if the Veilguard doesn't work, will that be BioWare's last chance as well? So check those out too. Check out other videos. I got a walkthrough of Dragon Age Origins on the channel as well. Also, Cyberpunk 2077 and Marvel Spider-Man 2 as well on there as well. And plus, we got the podcast stuff too. So audio only stuff, news drops, all that good stuff. So check those out if you can as well. All right, but enough talk. Let's go ahead and kick off this tier list. Uh, as usual, apologies if I randomly start sinking in the middle of this video because this chair is getting on my damn nerves. All right, like I said, we finished off Act 1 for Dragon Age 2, so we will pick up right where we left off for Act 2. Um, Not really a starting quest for the second act, like the first act or the third act will have. Um, there is a mission. It basically just involves going home and checking out the new house. I didn't put that on here because that was kind of lame. But we kind of got just four quests for Act Two here before we get to the end. So we'll start off with what is this? Prime Suspect. If I mentioned this before, basically, in Kirkwall, there's hints that a serial killer is on the loose. They're there somewhere, and you work with a Templar to sort of work to find a prime suspect named Gasgard, and you arrive at his mansion to find him with another woman who is terrified. Um, but he promises he isn't the killer. It's up to you to believe him or not. But it does bleed into the next quest here. So just for this, arriving at the mansion, finding him, finding the woman. Um, I was thinking maybe a D tier, but honestly, because it has two paths that it can go, you can either um, rat him out, fight him, he gets arrested, or you can believe him and let him go. And you can actually use him in the next quest. I think that'll pull it up to at least a C tier. Like I said, it's not very much, but the fact that it has kind of two branching paths, one of which does come back around later and does actually enhance the next quest a little bit too, if you leave him alive. But yeah, we'll put that in C tier. But that's where we get to the main quest line here. I believe it's called who's it called? All That Remains. I think that's what it's called. So it turns out that his next victim actually turns out to be Hawk's mother. So you and your uncle are trying to find a way to find her, save her, hopefully prevent it. That's when the guy from the last quest comes back around. You can talk to him. He'll perform like a blood magic rite. Then you can track down the killer. If not, you just have to find clues in the city. It's like a blood trail that you can use to find him. But yeah, unfortunately, you get there and it turns out it's too late. This mage has he lost his wife, and all throughout the years he's been kidnapping women to take parts of them that are reminiscent of his dead wife to stitch onto another body. And unfortunately, your mother has the same exact face. She looks very familiar to his wife. So that was the part he was after. So you get there, turn out it's too late. He's turned into this abomination. You kill him, stop him, but like I said, it's too late. You have a nice little final moment with your mother before she passes. And yeah, this is actually one of my favorite missions from Dragon Age 2. I'm gonna put this in A tier. Actually, you know what? We'll give Dragon Age 2 a little love. We'll put that in S tier. It's like my favorite mission from. Actually, you know what? No, we'll put that in A tier. I forgot about the next one coming up. That'll be the S tier one. But it's like my favorite mission in Dragon Age 2. Um Definitely very, very heartbreaking. Especially like at this point you've lost both your siblings as well. If you know they're dead, or at least your brother or sister went off to join the Circle, the Grey Wardens, or the Templars at this point. So it's definitely a blow, and like the whole creepiness of like it's been hinted at since the first act. Now it kind of comes back around in a major moment that impacts you directly, as opposed to it just being another woman that you're trying to save or stop. In this case, it's your mother. So yeah, that's cool. Also, having Gascard there enhances the quest a little bit. Turns out he's looking for the mage killer to learn under him. He's been trying to do the same thing, and he's actually tracking him down to learn from him. So you either have an additional fight with the main mage, you have to fight him too, or luckily, if you got Varric in the party, Varric will kill him off rip, and you don't have to worry about him in the combat scenario. So that's really cool. All right, up next we have Shepherding Wolves. This is uh, a very lengthy quest line, extending all the way back to Act One. It all starts when a sister named Sister Patrice employs you to escort a Canary mage, also known as Katojan, out of Kirkwall. You do it. Unfortunately, when you get to the Wounded Coast to get it out of the city, there's a group of Canary soldiers there waiting for you. It looks the whole scene is staged to make it look like you killed a bunch of Canary soldiers and you have that mage there with you. So it turns out it's a massive setup by Sister Patrice. In that quest line, you can fight the Canary soldiers or you can hand the mage over. Either way, it's a fight. Either way. Um, After that, you can speak to Katojan, either freeing him or killing him of your own volition. Again, it doesn't really matter though, because Katojan will kill themselves even if you let them go. Canari are very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Archaic in their treatment of mages. They have to be bound, mouth sealed. They have to constantly be under watch by a handler to make sure uh, possession is not a possible thing. So that's what happens there. So that's why Katojan offs themselves after you free them, or no matter how the quest ends. You go to confront Patrice. You don't really do anything to her, but she's kind of on your radar. She comes back around later when the Viscount's son actually ends up he goes missing because it turns out he's actually converting to the coon the Cune, um, and you save him. Unfortunately, though, her and her Templar handler sort of view this as a little blasphemous. They come around in another mission when a party of Canary go missing. You have to hunt them down. Turns out the Templar who was working with her kidnapped them. He kills them. You can either help him kill the Canary, in which case the Canary break out. You fight them, or you fight to free the Canary, and he kills them outright, and you have to fight him and his fanatic group. And then you have the penultimate part, the ending of the actual quest, where the Viscount's son is missing yet again, but it turns out he's been set up. Patrice killed him to try and make it look like the Canary did it, to finally have the Chantry go up against the Canary. Um, Really interesting thing here, as which honestly, looking this up for this video because I never do it this way. But looking it up, actually, if you helped out the Canary, not the Canary, if you helped out the Templar in the mission before this to kill the Canary, you can actually team up with Sister Patrice to set up the Canary. In which case, again, the Canary arrive. You got to fight them. But I usually go with the whole thing of I try to stop him, so I'm fighting against Patrice in this moment. She kills the Viscount's son. She tries to kill you. Again, tries to make it all look like the Canary did it. Of course, you thwart her plans. Um, she gets confronted by the what the heck is their title called? I forget. She's basically the head of the church. She gets her title stripped. Um, if you teamed up with Patrice, just the stripping of her title is it. But if you fought against her, the Canary arrive and actually kill Patrice. And it's just a whole political mess that you're involved in now. So that's why this one is going to go into S tier. It is a very well done mission that comes in a lot of layers, multiple missions throughout the first two acts. There's different pathways you can take. You can either team up with her or fight against her, and it very much acts as the spark. I mean, to start the fires of the final quest for Act Two, which will have a little bit of a detour though because right as you get to the end of Act Two, you're approached by Aveline and Isabella. Um, Isabella finally found the relic she's been looking for the entire game, and she wants you to help her grab it. Of course, you have to do this before you help out Aveline, because Aveline leads directly to the quest that ends this. Basically, she found this relic. You go help her find it, you get it, and when it turns out, no surprise, she gets the relic and she runs away with it, leaving you behind. And it turns out the relic is actually the what is it called? The Tome of Kuzland, which it turns out is the exact relic the Canary are looking for, and that's why they can't leave because they can't return to Saharan, their homeland, without it. So now Isabella has it, and now Isabella's gone. So now you know why the Canary are there, but now they can't leave. So that's To Catch a Thief. We'll put that in B tier. It's a pretty good quest, pretty good reveal. Isabella leaving is a pretty big surprise there, nonetheless. But from there we get to the actual closing of Act Two. Um, Aveline summons you because some elves who killed a guard have run away to the Canary to convert to the Coon, basically giving them diplomatic immunity and escaping justice for what they did. This turns out to be the last straw, not the quest though. That's that's here. Turns out to be the last straw for the Canary, as they now feel that they cannot sit back and allow these things around them to happen, and they're doing what they usually do. They have to bring order to it, as the Coon demand. I think it's all. Guess how caught. Look at that perfect segue. I didn't even plan that. As the Coon demands, they have to bring order to all this chaos, and that's what we have for demands of the Coon. So yeah, so they attack the city, widespread chaos. You fight your way through, fighting Kanari the whole way, trying to get to the Viscount's Keep. There, you finally meet the two heads that have been bumping heads for the entire game, but you haven't met them. That being First Enchanter Orsino and Knight Commander Meredith. You finally come face to face with both of them, the head of the Mages and the head of the Templars. You get to Viscount's Keep. The Canary had the Viscount has killed. He's killed the Viscount. The Arashok, that's the name I was thinking of that skipped on me. The Arashok kills the Viscount. You arrive. You have a little heart to heart. Um, Also, if you've done it throughout the game, you can actually get a trophy and achievement called a worthy rival. So he'll view you as a worthy rival. Basically, after this part, few things can happen. You can either just fight the Canary and the Arashok straight up. You can 1v1 them, or you could just fight them all as a group. Or if your relationship is good enough, Isabella will come back with the tone. She'll return it so that the Canary can leave. But of course, they need to do something with Isabella. You can defend her or let them take her straight up, or defend her and have to run the 1v1 fade with the Arashok. Either way, You fight the Arashaka, beat them, and the town is freed. And this is going to be another S tier quest for Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2's ending quests are always really good. This is, I feel, the one of the best ones. Just the fighting, all the chaos. You run into your sibling again, no matter what side they're on, if they're alive, that is. You run into them again. You finally get to meet Orsino and Meredith. And of course, finally having everything come to a point with the Canary after, the Black Powder mission. Like I mentioned, where is it? Oh, here, not that one. Where did I put it? Oh, it's right here. The shepherding wool stuff. All of that comes to a head finally at the end of Act 2. All right. So with that, we begin Act Three. Act Three is actually pretty dang short. So Act Three kicks off with it actually does have a quest line that starts everything off, and that is called I forget what this is called, but it's this showdown. That's what it's called. Meredith and Orsino are arguing in the middle of the city. People gathering around. Orsino's mad because Meredith is getting wilder with her the Templars, excuse me, a group of mages. Meredith is upset because the number of blood mages has repeatedly gone up. You step in the middle, you can take a side, or you can stay neutral, but the church leader lady comes in and breaks it up. Uh, it ain't really much. Not really too much is going on. From there, you get hired by Meredith and Orsino. Your job is to hunt down three mages who've escaped. Um, they want you to bring it back alive, but if you can't, that's fine. Turns out two of them have, of course, turned to blood magic, so you got to kill him. One guy he just escaped because he just wanted to get laid at least. So there was that. That guy you could either send him back to the circle immediately. You can pay him to leave Kirkwall, or you can let him lay up with a lady for the night and then head back to the circle in the morning. Either way, again, kind of doesn't really amount to too much. It just kind of acts as more of a introduction for more interactions with Orsino and Meredith. Um, yeah, that's about it. Another detailed quest line, to be honest. Um, what's this one? I think this one is best served cold. So this continues on from the mission. Did we talk about that one? Mission in Act One. I forgot. It's been a couple weeks. I can't remember if I had that one all here. But basically, yeah, there was the Kieran one, right? Yeah, this one. Basically there was some, yeah, and then the one guy. Where is it? Oh, maybe we didn't talk about it. Whatever. I talked about it. We gotta talk about it again. Basically there was a group of mages in a cave. You were hired to take to get to them. Of course, you get there. No, that is what this one is. Uh, it's a continuation from this quest and also this quest, the Kieran quest from last time. So it turns out that mages, a group of mages and a group of Templars are actually working together. Yeah, they're working together to undermine Meredith because Templars are feeling like her actions are too hardcore, and of course the mages are, of course they're mages. They're the ones facing it, of course. So basically, it turns out the mages that you saved from that cave in Act One, turns out they got captured and they were imprisoned, but they're in this group as well. Kieran, who was from this quest, is actually one of the Templars on the quest to find, actually in the conjunction, as well as Thrask, who we talked about in that quest earlier. Uh, this mission basically comes down to either Orsino or Meredith will give you this quest, this quest. You have to find out what the heck's going on. You track them down. Turns out that they kidnapped one of your people to act as act as a token to sort of keep you off their back. Um, so you find them, and it turns out that where this mission kind of gets weird. What could be actually a good thing because it's actually mages and Templars work together, finding out that they actually have a common enemy, and Meredith they actually gone a little bit too far. Instead, it again just boils down to the girl who was with the that group of mages, turns to blood magic and threatens to kill everybody. As she don't think mages and Templars can work together, and it's too late. So of course, it's just said that her using blood magic, summoning demons. So you got to fight and kill everybody. You free your partner, and that is that. You leave the future. I think Thras can die here. But yeah, pretty enjoyable mission. But honestly, it gets kind of dumb because of the whole we just go to blood magic thing. We'll put it in a B tier. Put it in a B tier. All right, and after that, we come to our final quest line for Dragon Age 2, the final quest, the finale, the last straw. So it turns out that in a little companion quest that you get from Anders, where he needed you to distract the, I think her name's Althea. That is just popping into my head just now. Her name's Althea. You are to distract her as he does something in the background. He doesn't tell you what it is, but he just tells you he needs his help. So you help out and do that, and then we finally learn what that is because the man basically set off like a magical nuke in the in the chantry. And when things come to a head between Orsino and the mages and Meredith and the Templars, Anders steps in and blows up the damn chantry, killing Althea inside, who was a revered mother. That's what it's called. Why is everything popping up in my mind now? Probably because I took a lunch break. And right, I just started filming this. I was like, oh, I'm very hungry. I need to take a lunch. So now that now everything's coming back to back to me apparently. But yeah, killing her, you blowing up the chantry, and of course Meredith takes that as like the step too far. Things have gone too far now. There's no rolling back from this. She enacts the right of annulment, so they have to kill every mage present. Of course, the circle wasn't responsible for it. Anders is a rebel mage. So this is where you finally have to make your choice. Do you choose to help the Templars kill all the mages, or do you assist the mages defending them from the Templars? Companion lines are drawn in here as well, depending on your relationship and their views on mages and Templars. They cannot join. You have to decide what to do with Anders. Do you let him go? Does he come with you? Do you kill him outright? Um, so yeah, this is a really good mission. It's the final mission. It's really good. Um, what else happens here? Basically, you're with one side. Unfortunately, you do end up having to fight both sides anyway. As either the wildest part is the fact that Orsino, even with you helping him, will feel that your back's against the wall, despite the fact that you literally just wiped out their first wave of attacks. And then he'll, of course, to to nobody's surprise, he'll turn to blood magic and turn to a damn abomination. So you got to fight and kill him now. And it turns out Meredith has been under the influence of the red lyrium idol, which, of course, you found at the expedition back in Act 1. Didn't talk about it too much because it mostly has to do with like Varric's companion quest. But basically, you found an idol down there. Varric's brother took it, left y'all in the deep roads. It hasn't been seen since. So it turns out that she has it infused in her sword, and that's why she's kind of been losing her shit throughout the game. So you fight her. Dope boss fight. That boss fight is fantastic. You get help depending on your choices you made with individuals throughout the game. But yeah, really dope ending. Really dope quest. Crazy, crazy quest. This is S tier quest right here. Honestly, I remember playing through Dragon Age 2 and just not really enjoying the experience as a whole because Dragon Age 2 has a lot of flaws, a lot of big flaws. But I remember when I got to this finale, I was like, you know what? That final mission itself kind of saves the whole damn game, to be honest with you. So that kind of put it in a better light for me. So yeah, that's an S tier quest right there. All right, next up we have the DLCs for Dragon Age 2, only two. We have Mark of the Assassin. Hawk teams up with a Canary elf named Talus to steal something called the Heart of the Many. Journey off to a new location called Chateau Hain. Um, I'll be honest, this is a very fun DLC. It's not too serious. The location is great. Chateau Hain is a great, gorgeous location. That's the thing for both these DLCs. I think they knew the mistakes they made. So in the DLCs, they was really like, all right, let's make these locations as detailed, as individualistic as we possibly can to differentiate from all the stuff they went through in the base game. So yeah, great little mission there. I love the part where you lingering at the party after the wyvern hunt. You have to find a key, and you're going into like Leliana. Um, what the heck is the guy's name from Origins? Um, what the heck is his name? Not not Eamon, his brother. I forget his name. I can't remember his name. But you meet him. Um, there's a stealth section in this game that is absolute ass though. It sucks. Um, but the puzzles in here are really fun. The loot's pretty good. The final boss fight again is really fun, really dope. It's a really dope quest. The stuff with Talus kind of gets a little. She kind of like explains why the Cune is the way it is, but she kind of she she really puts points on the fact that doing it at least you have a purpose, which is the whole thing of the Kyun and the Kanari having a purpose. You're part of something bigger than yourself, so it kind of gives you meaning. But she really, really tries to gloss over and downplay the entire brainwashing, the restrictions of individual freedoms, their, as I mentioned, their archaic view of magic and mages. She really tries to downplay and gloss over all of the dirtier grimier, sort of the darker aspects of the Cune. So there is that. But with that, I think I'll put Mark of the Assassin in A tier. It is a very fun, enjoyable quest. A lot of good things to do. Uh, Great location to be in. The moments are great. If you play a humorous hawk, this DLC really pays that off in spades. Especially like as you and Talos can bounce off one another really well, because she's also a pretty like sarcastic, jokey, quick-witted character as well. So the bouncing off between one another is really fun. But it does have its flaws. All right, next up we have Legacy. The Legacy DLC. Um, Diving more into Hawk's father, who has, of course, mentioned but isn't in the game. He's passed on by the time the game starts. We get a little bit more on him. We're diving back into the deep roads. Of course, we gotta have a major deep roads quest. We get two in this one, by the way. But yeah, again, not a very nice location for it to be like a deep roads quest line. The locations in this are really good. The entire like uh what is it called, Weimar Chasm, whatever it's called. But Corypheus's whole prison is all done really well. It looks really good. It's really fun. Um, some nice little more stuff. If your sibling is alive, you can bring them as well, and you get some nice little interactions with them and Hawk as you dive more into the history of your father. Darkspawn are back, so that's fun. We get more than just the what do we get? We just got ogres and Herlocks in the main game, so we get more variety of Darkspawn here. So some enemy variety. That's always cool. Varric has a nice little moment as he meets the person who made Bianca. As they're under the thrall of something in there. You get more something that actually is that I'm kind of just now realizing again as I talk about it right now. Something that's going to be a little bit more explored in Inquisition, which is kind of again the dark side of Grey Wardens, which of course we don't really get because Grey Wardens are held in high regard in Origins because you are one. But this one really starts to show kind of how duty can make Grey Wardens a little desperate and can force them to do some very questionable things. Mostly the fact that Malcolm Hawk, your dad, was really kind of forced by the Grey Wardens to lock up this dark spawn that is Corypheus. But the Corypheus fight is great. I love the Corypheus boss fight. It's dynamic. It has some really interesting mechanics to it. It's a really fun mission. Like it really makes things a little bit more dire. Like the entire environment gets affected by it. So it's really cool. There's again, I don't know what note the the devs got when they did these DLCs that just made them go, just make some dope ass puzzles for these DLCs. But the puzzles in this are really fun too. Oh, Anders gets a nice little additional thing because he is a darkspawn who affects darkspawn and also Grey Wardens. So Anders gets affected the further down and the closer you get to him in the deep roads. He starts to get affected. You even have like a little boss fight with him at some point. So that's really fun. Also, you get a new weapon called the Hawk Key. OP as hell. You can craft it however you want. There's like multiple points throughout the game where you can give it a stat, a bonus stat. Um, and it's how it's like four choices, and you pick what one of the four you can pick. But there is also a little bug where if you try hard enough and you got the patience for it, you can actually get all four attribute boosts at one instead of just one. So by the time you come out of this, you can come out of this thing with like what 16 stat boosts on the thing. Because I think there's 3 points of it at a certain point. I mean 12. I said 16. I can't count. I'm terrible at math. But you come out with like a 12 stat boost attached to it, which can make it just unfairly overpowered. Uh, but it's a really cool addition. I love the Hawk Key. So yeah, so Legacy, I'm going to put in S tier. It honestly, downloading Legacy really kind of makes up for both the DLCs in conjunction, combined with one another, really makes up for the shortcomings of the entire game. So it's the fact that, as you also see, all of the quests that end the acts I have very high, and there are also some pretty good mainline quests in there that are also really fun and really good too. So all this together really kind of it makes up for the shortcomings of Dragon Age 2, I feel. It makes it actually kind of a little bit more enjoyable than when you got the vanilla base game when it first came out, like I did. But anywho, that is it for Dragon Age 2. Now we move on to the third and the most recent entry, Dragon Age Inquisition, plus the DLC. So this is what, two, three, four, five, six, 11 main quests and 3 DLCs. All right. So we start off with what is this? The Wrath of Heaven, which is basically the start of the game. Um, there's the conclave happening. Oh, by the way, continuing directly on from the events of the end of Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2 ends with the massive war between mages and Templars across all of Thedas at the end of 2. And at the start of 3, you're basically trying to solve this issue. So they come together in something called the Conclave. But a big explosion happens, and damn near everybody dies. Your character is like the one survivor to come out of it. So you got to find out what's wrong. Um, you go to seal what's called the breach, which is basically a massive tear in the veil. Demons are coming through. It's all chaos. So you have to venture up the mountains to seal the breach because you got a mark on your hand that allows you to manipulate these breaches and these risks. So yeah, I always kind of like this mission. I thought it was a nice little introduction to everything. You meet some pretty important characters. You meet Who do you meet? Cassandra, Liliana, Varric returns, Solas, and Cullen also returns. So meet all of them here. Um, it's a good mission, not anything special. I put that in about a C tier. It does a really good job of setting everything up though. But other than that, not too much identifiable about it. Next up you have the I forget what this mission is called. It's basically once the you and the advisors finally officially announced the reformation of the Inquisition. You bring it back in an attempt to stop the breach. You shut it down a little bit, but it's still up there. It ain't no too much. So I got to handle the bigger one. So that's what you're here. We'll make it a D tier. Really nice cutscenes though, but that's basically all the quest is. Just a bunch of cutscenes. All right, then we get to our two major quest lines here. Also, it involves like uh traveling to the hinterlands, which is a massive trap. I'll tell you again, get out of there as soon as you can. You're speaking to a revered mother. You try to speak with the mages and the Templars. You don't really get anywhere with either one of them in that initial meeting, but that is followed up upon in these two here. So, in order to fully close the breach, you basically just come down to the fact that you either need the help of the mages or you need the Templars, but you can't get them both. So you have to pick one or the other. Champions of the Just is the one you get if you pick the Templars. Turns out they've all been infiltrated by a envy demon who has started to infect the ranks with red lyrium, turning them into the Red Templars. So you have to go save whatever Templars you can and defeat the envy demon in the end. Um, I seen it looking at a lot of things from the game. I've been watching people play it for the first time. A lot of people tend to not pick this quest because a lot of people are just innately mage sympathizers, which I don't. I've expressed it before. I ain't gonna go too deep into it here. I've expressed it before. I see the pros and the cons of both sides. I feel like the series in general, as a whole, throughout its history, does a really good job of showing the pros and cons of both. But really, it really does make the Templars look like assholes the entirety of the series more than the mages. So I get it. Me, on the other hand, I'll play both. And I gotta tell you, I love the Champions of the Just Quest. I like it better than the other one. I'm not gonna lie. I really like it. Like the entire time the envy demon like gets into your head and tries to learn about you so that it can imitate you. Um, So you have this whole trippy sequence where you're like trapped in your mind and you got to figure a way out. Cole pops up here. He tries to help you as well. But it's a really cool, trippy kind of experience. You see like these little, it shows you like these scenes of like what it will do once it impersonates you. All like the torture it'll put your allies through and whatnot. It's a really cool section. I really do enjoy this mission quite a bit. But of course, that is sorry. Man, I'm starting to see how how voice actors do this shit for hours on end. Um, but that isn't to take anything away from In Hushed Whispers. That's the quest where you recruit the mages to help you out. This one is a really good quest too, though. Don't doubt that. I like this one too. I just like Champions of the Just better. But in this quest, it turns out that the mages have signed themselves into servitude to some Taventer mages. You got to find out why. Turns out that the main mage here, Alexius, has been tampering with some time manipulation magic. I know time travel can get kind of iffy and shit. I know, but I think Dragon Age handles it really well, and they keep it contained just within this story and quest line, so it doesn't pop up or do anything major. So when you go to fight him, you meet Dorian here, one of the other companions. He's the companion you get in this one. You get Dorian in this one, and you get Cole in the Chambers of the Just. You go to fight him. He tries to do his little time magic again, ends up teleporting you 2 years into the future, I believe. Yeah, throws you 2 years into the future, and you basically see everything that's happened with you out of the picture. Both missions tease an elder one, who's basically like the big boss of all this, and they both tease the fact that Empress Selene is assassinated, and somehow they have a massive army of demons that they use to take over the land. So that's how they win. Both missions tease that. This one it just kind of teases and talks about it, but in Hush Whispers actually kind of shows them a lot more. Um, yeah, it's really dope. It has like this really kind of somber ending to it because it turns out you and Dorian both go into the future, but the two companions who get left behind have actually been captured for the entire 2 years and are starting to be affected by red lyrium. And Liliana is there too after succumbing to 2 years of torture. And basically, they both like, in order for you and Dorian to get back to prevent this from happening, they essentially sacrifice themselves to allow you to escape, to hopefully make sure that timeline does not happen. So yeah, In House Whispers is a solid A tier. Um, I could put both of them on a similar level, but like I said, I like Champions of the Just more. So that one's an S. This one's an A for me. But they're both very good. You can't go wrong playing picking either one. They're both very good. All right. So, oh, dismiss right here. So after you do that, you with the Major Templars head to the breach and you actually close it. Big old good times, big party happens there at Haven, the base. But guess what? It ain't. Because You finally get confronted by the Elder when it turns out it's Corypheus. And he has a whole army with him. Turns out the army he has is the side you didn't pick. So if you picked the mages and in Hush Whispers, he arrives with an army of Red Templars now. If you picked Champions of the Just, he arrives with these new mages now called the damn it, what the hell's their name? The Venatori. Um, so yeah, so basically the one you didn't pick is his army now. So you have to sacrifice one. From there, what the heck just happened? Oh, my Wi-Fi just went out somehow, but hopefully we're good. um, yes. So they arrive and they actually attack Haven, which has been your base for this whole time so far. They attack. You have to fight them off. You stay behind so everybody can escape. You do this. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Uh, you stay behind. You have a good face to face with Corypheus. He kind of teases the fact that he was supposed to have the mark on your hand. Um, and you set off an avalanche once everybody escapes, and that gives you space. Um, I think that's it for that quest. I could be wrong. Basically, there's also a little spot where you leave Haven, but you're alone, trapped in the cold. So you're trying to track down where the rest of everybody went to get to them. I don't know if that's a part of this quest or is at the start of the next quest, but either way, it's there. If I am a sucker for anything, it is when the bad guy straight up marches and attacks the home base of the hero. I am a sucker for that shit. I love it. And that's why this is S tier for me. That's why this is S tier for me. The fact, you close the breach, you think everything was all good, but nope, they want all the smoke. They spin the block on you, and, and they kick you out of your base of operations. I love that shit. Also, it's a dope mission. The fighting, you got to do this thing with trebuchets to take out the army marching in the mountains. I love the whole standoff with you and Corypheus at the end. The information you get with the fact that he was supposed to be the one who has the anchor to tear down the veil himself, and you just kind of stumbled upon it, even though you don't remember. Yeah, I love that mission. I love that mission so much. All right, next up we have I don't remember what it's called. From Ashes, which is basically just the aftermath of that. Like I said, it could be that part where you're walking in the snow. Basically, you meet up with the rest of the team. Um, Morale is low. People are upset. They kind of don't know where to go from here. Luckily, Solas, one of your companions, tells you about a castle and he tells you where it is. So you lead the party to this place. It's called Skyhole. Brand new base of the Inquisition. Also, you are finally actually made the Inquisitor, as there was issues as to who was actually leading this thing, even though it's been you doing all the work from the jump in the first place. But now you are officially crowned the leader and the Inquisitor, and now you have a new mission, which is to stop Corypheus, as he is hoping to, as you know, the assassination attempt on the Empress, and he somehow gets his hands on an army of demons. So now you're trying to stop him from taking over the world. Um, I'll put this in about a C tier. Um, okay, we'll put it to a B tier. Because it's at least a bigger moment getting to Skyhole for the first time and you becoming the Inquisitor are pretty dope moments. That's it's like when you become a Spectre in Mass Effect 1. It's a pretty dope moment, a pretty nice moment. Um but yeah, so we'll put that at a B tier at least. Really good mission. All right, next up, you get the two main missions from this point on. Um Wicked Eyes and Wicked Hearts. You are attempting to uh stop the assassination attempt on Empress Celine. Um it goes right up there. It goes right up there in S tier. I think I this is just universally viewed as an amazing mission. I feel. I don't think I've seen anybody say that they hate or even slightly dislike this mission. It's a fantastic mission. So throughout the game, you constantly get reminded that this has to get handled differently than every other quest you've done so far. While a lot of quests have to deal with just the combat, this is different. You're in Orlais now. You're in like the spot in Orlais. It's Palam Sharad. You're in like the capital of Orlais. And you have to play the game, which is basically just um you have to play the game, which is basically just you now have to use your words. You have to be sly. You have to be slick. You can't put all your cards up front. You kind of got to play things a little closer to the chest. It's not just combat now. Now you have to think. You have to dance the dance, if you will. Yeah. So a lot of this has to do with not combat, with dialogue. There's exploration elements to it that you have to do. Because basically it comes down to the fact that there is a civil war. There are three uh opposing forces all trying to vie for the throne. You got the Empress still trying to retain. You got her cousin, I can't remember his name. He's trying to subvert her and take over himself. They have Briala here, who is an elf, but she basically has like all the elves in the area and the servants in a little elven rebellion. Elven? Elven rebellion, trying to get to a position of power to look out for them. So it's a three-way dance, and now you're coming in and like, hey, there's an assassin. We got to figure out something to do here. So yeah, and there are so many ways this quest can end. Do you pick one person? Stick with Celine. Maybe you go with Briala. Maybe this guy whose name I can't remember. Is this Gasgard? Is this Gasgard Dupuis? I can never remember anybody's name. But anywho, yeah, there's a multitude of endings you can pick here. Um, you can have all three working together in a life, and it all depends on information you gather in the castle throughout the game. You got to find dirt on all three in order to get them to fall in line. So you could have all three working together in a fairly uneasy alliance, but you're the one who's keeping them together. Maybe you have Briala running things and using this guy as just a puppet, but it's actually her because nobody's going to accept an elf as the leader. But he kind of acts as the face, but it's actually her running things. The two of them used to be Briala and Celine used to be lovers. Maybe you get them back together, and now they rule together again. Kind of Briala in the shadows, but they are working together. Maybe you have Celine just by herself. um, it's a multitude of ways you can end, and it's all great. There's a whole boss fight you can completely avoid. Again, if you have high approval and you play the game well, you can avoid a boss fight altogether at the end. It's just a great quest line, and the castle is great. The outfits are great. The dialogue with you and your companions is great. I love this quest. I love it so much. It's really really good. All right, next up we have what Pride Wrought. This is you investigating the dragon army, the demon army, and apparently has something to do with the Grey Wardens. Turns out the Grey Wardens are all hearing a calling at one time, which is the thing that's sort of alerting them that they're about to die. Their time's almost up. And in a super desperate and dumb move, like I said, this is another one that kind of gets it heightened from the Legacy DLC in Dragon Age 2. In a really dumb move, they decide that they have to venture into the deep roads and find and kill the old gods before they die. And to do that, they have some guy come in and get them tethered to some demons and possessed. So there you go. So that's how he gets to do it. But yeah, this mission is awesome because there are so many callbacks. Varix puts you in touch with Hawk. So Hawk returns in this quest line as well. Also, you work with a warden. Unfortunately, not the warden, but a warden at least, and that depends on choices you made throughout the previous games. I always ended up with Stroud, who pops up in two, because of choices I made. But it could be Logain if you kept him alive, or it could be Alistair if you decide to stay a warden and not be the king or a drunk in Origins. So he pops up in this as well. This is our Enter the Fade quest here. We enter the Fade. The Inquisitor learns the truth about what happened at the Conclave. Um, yeah, and you have to make a pretty. It can either be a very easy or a very tough decision, depending on those choices. As in order for all of us to escape, somebody has to hold back the massive demon, and that has to be either Hawk or the Warden. So this could literally be Hawk or Alistair, which is extremely difficult. Or it could be Hawk and Stroud or Logain, which I feel makes it a lot easier. So yeah, eventually you kill the demon, you free the Grey Wardens, and you can choose to keep them or exonerate them. And this is another S tier mission. This mission is fantastic. Um, while Wicked Eyes and Wicked Hearts is great because it does something different, this is great because it really does what you usually do, and it does it right, and it makes it so much bigger. Like you attack the Grey Warden base, which is dope because you have to remember you actually are leading an entire army, not just your party. You are leading an army. The Inquisition has an actual full-fledged army. So you lead them into the Grey Warden base. The whole part we get transported into the Fade, the unraveling the mystery of what happened at the conclave. It's all done extremely well. Having to make that choice at the end was, like I said, it can be extremely difficult depending on your choices. This mission is phenomenal. I love it. All right, next up we have what pride had wrought. So after you finish these two, turns out Corypheus is in the Arbor Wilds doing something. So you have to go there and you got to figure out what the heck is going on. And this is an A tier mission. Again, it gives you that whole reminder that you're leading an army because you're taking your full forces and your army to go up against Corypheus's army. Your Orlais Connect is there as well, depending on who you pick to rule Orlais. Did I also mention Morgan joins them? I didn't mention that. Morgan pops up too and joins you in this quest too. So she's around from this point on. So yeah, this is a really cool mission, and we get our most important and closest related things to how this game ends. All right, I'm back. Shit, I don't remember the last thing I said, but yeah, Morgan's there, so that's cool. You get there, and it turns out, the closest connection we got to things that will be teased at the end of the game, it turns out that there is a set of ancient elves alive in the forest, protecting a what the heck is it? I want to say temple, but it's not a temple. Uh, but an altar dedicated to Mathal. So yeah, so it's ancient elves who've lived since the fall of Arlathan. Is that what their old place was called? But yeah, basically elves from the ancient times who know everything that happened were alive and they were there. So that was really cool. You have a boss fight against Corypheus's lieutenant. Who they are depends on if they were a Templar or a mage. And there is a small little quest line that you can tackle to assist in the boss fight as well. And then you get to the pool. That's what they're protecting. Pool of the Well of Sorrows, which is dedicated to Mathal. And Morgan wants it, so she kind of screws some things up. So either Morgan can drink from it, or you, the Inquisitor, can drink from it. And yeah, it's a really cool quest line. We also find out the truth about Corypheus, how he managed to survive. He's basically like an archdemon, where even if you kill him, his essence goes to the nearest tainted individual. In this case, it was a Grey Warden. And his essence goes to them, and that becomes his new body and his new vessel. So that seems to be. We did see it at the end of Legacy as one of the two Grey Wardens, which I don't think I mentioned when we talked about it. One of the two Grey Wardens you can side with. They tend to act a little differently once you defeat Corypheus, and it has been explained that you killed him, but his essence traveled to them, and that's how he was able to survive the events of Legacy at the end. So yeah, what Pride had won is also a really good mission. Next we have a little bit of an interlude quest here. The final piece. Um, we'll put this in B tier. This one has a few options. Um, one of the biggest things that makes it different. Actually, there's two things that make it different. One is if you versus Morgan, who drank from the well, that adds some differences. But the biggest thing is if you decided to undertake the dark ritual or not from Origins, and that will come back around here. Basically, you meet with Morgan. If you undertook actually, because I've never seen the ones where you don't, I'll talk about it a little bit. Basically, you get taken to an altar. It's either Morgan tells you need to go there, or the voices from the Well of Sorrows tells you to go there. You go there. Wow, why did it come? Why did it come out like that? Basically, you go there, and it turns out it's another altar to Mathal, and it turns out that Flemeth uh actually houses the spirit of Mathal within her. Um, but of course, the really cool thing is, of course, if you did take the Dark Ritual, Kieran will be missing, and Alluvian will be active. You're following after him. He's in the Fade, and you come face to face with Flemeth. Of course, seemingly here to collect the old God soul here. Of course, if you get this way, you get to see Morgan's character come full circle. Of course, in Origin, she was a person who was always looking out for herself, would not hesitate to sacrifice somebody or anybody else to make sure that she comes out on top and alive. But of course, here she is more than willing to sacrifice herself to save her son, as she does not want to be the kind of mother that Flemeth was to her. But Flemeth takes the old god's soul peacefully. Of course, depending on who drank from the well, either Morgan or you, as the Inquisitor, are now sort of a servant to Mathal and enslaved to her now. Don't know if we're getting any follow up on that one either in the future. But yeah, but it ends with you go to the temple. You either find a dragon to help you fight Corypheus' dragon, or Morgan learns how to transform into a dragon herself. So yeah, this is a really cool mission that finally brings around some of the older big choices from Origins, that being the Dark Ritual and the old God Baby Soul, the old God Soul. I cannot talk today, but yeah, so that was a really good mission, solid B tier mission. Up next, we have Doom Upon the World, the final quest, the final main quest line of Dragon Age Inquisition. And I'm not gonna lie, if y'all haven't noticed, all of the main quests from Inquisition are fire. They sit in between a whole lot of fluff from the mechanics of the game with the big maps with a lot of stuff to do, but none of it really means anything. The main quests are done extremely well, except for this one. This is like a C tier mission. I should have made the motherfucker D tier. It's the final mission. Corypheus, finally, with no other option, just decides to attack. He has the orb. He's going to try to tear the veil open again. You arrive to fight him. He uplifts a chunk of the ground. So now you're floating in the air on these pieces of earth, floating in the air. You fight Corypheus. Then you fight his dragon. Um, then you fight him again, and you beat him. And that's it. Solas picks up the Elven artifact, teases that the fact that he knew something, then disappears. You have a big party with your companions, have a nice little one with the romance option. Then the epilogue rolls. Actually, you know what? That'll explain it. Yeah, there ain't a lot happening there. It's very sad that of all the stuff that all these main quests that are so damn good, the final one is like the wackest of all of them. Hell, even now I'm thinking, look about it. Even compared to the other Dragon Age games, like the final battle, I put an A. The last straw, I put an S tier, but this one is a D tier. Yeah, the final quest line for Inquisition is the final quest in Inquisition is not good. The best thing about it is the I guess you call it the post credit scene where Solas meets up with Flemeth, and it's revealed that Solas is actually the Dread Wolf, and he is the one who set all this in motion. He woke up, he tried to power that elven artifact, but couldn't. Put it in the hands of Corypheus for him to charge it up. But I believe his original thought was it was going to kill Corypheus, but it would tear open the veil, and that would accomplish its goal. But of course, everything happened. Everything was wrong. He then he kills Flemeth, absorbs Mathal, and apparently, seemingly also possibly the old God Soul, and that kind of sets us up for Trespasser. So that's about the only really good thing in that mission. Sorry, I told you I would probably be lowering again. All right, now we have our three DLCs. Whoops, that's the wrong one. We have our three DLCs here. Starting off with Jaws of Hakon. Um, this one is you finally get some info on the whereabouts of the very first Inquisitor. He went missing hundreds of years ago. Nobody knows where or how, but you pick it up on his trail here. I'm be honest, Charles Hakon's kind of whack. It's pretty damn whack. If you're a fan of like the lore and of Dragon Age, it's interesting because this is the most we get on the Avar, who are very rarely, if not barely, present in any of the past Dragon Age games. They pop up slightly in Origins. I don't think they're there at all in two, and you do get one location to like an Avar level, but there's not like there's not too much there in Inquisition. So it's interesting to finally get a lot on them at least. But unfortunately, this DLC is the only one that suffers from the worst mechanics of Inquisition, which is just a big map with a lot of stuff there. None of it really means anything. A lot of fetch quests. There's more shards. There's more of the ocularum things. Yeah, so unfortunately, it's a DLC that follows all of that, which was the worst parts of the main game. The main quest line though is actually pretty decent. Again, if you're a fan of lore, it gives more history on Ameridan, the dragon hunter who was the first Inquisitor. Uh, the reveal that he's an elf was actually pretty huge. Um, Seeing that he's still alive, he was holding a dragon uh in a state of stasis this whole time. Of course, the dragon, the seals are breaking. The bad guys are trying to free the dragon, which they do. He dies. You fight the dragon, and that's the end. You save the land, and that's it. So yeah, Charles Hackon is. I will definitely say it's the skip. It's the skippable DLC of all of them. It's like it'll be the one I just would like not recommend unless you're like super interested in that stuff. But even then, I say just watch YouTube stuff. You can get all that there. Um, yeah. But luckily, it gets a step up with the Descent. The Descent is our resident, once again, our Deep Roads mission. It is a requirement. We even we even got it in the podcast. We had a Deep Roads episode in the podcast, Vows and Vengeance. I'm gonna put the Descent at a B. It's a pretty good DLC. Nice location. Um, Unfortunately, it's not as bad as Jaws of Hackon, but it does have like that little timed war table stuff on it. If y'all know what I'm talking about, they have this war table thing where you pick a mission to undertake, and it actually takes real war, real war. You don't know what's going on with me today. I cannot speak. Real world time. So like a mission will take 40 minutes real time, or some of them take like 12 hours real time to complete, like a gotcha game shit. So yeah, it has some of those, but they aren't that terrible. It's not too many of them. But yeah, new enemy types, that's always dope. The Shalbertal, which are the dwarves are darkspawn that started in Lyrium, deep in there. But yeah, this is the furthest within the deep roads we have ever gone in the series. So we come across this basically undiscovered civilization down there. The reveal of the Titans, these massive creatures who are like literally living continents. Um, it turns out that lyrium is their blood. That explains the connection with like the stone that the dwarves have and how they can sense lyrium because they've been around it their whole life. The fact that they're alive, it also explains why red lyrium is a thing because red lyrium is just lyrium corrupted with the darkspawn taint, and of course, darkspawn taint only affects living things. So they were kind of teasing it a little bit before, but we finally got a confirmation here. That was always cool. I forget the chick's name, the dwarf chick who you travel with in this quest. The fact that she was touched by the Titan seemed to have left her in seemed to have made her become something more than what she was before. I thought it was her tease of the fact that she would be that first dwarven mage, but it seems like that's going to Harding in the Veilguard. So, but yeah, but it's a very solid DLC. I would definitely say it's playable, especially if you're a fan of like the gameplay mechanic in the loop. Gives you new enemies, really dope location. It's actually a fairly tough DLC as well. The fights are tough, as you would expect from Deep Road stuff. And of course it gives more lore for like dwarves, which are also like another aspect which we don't go into too much in the Dragon Age world. Definitely not as much as like the human and the elf stuff. All right, and finally we have our final DLC, Trespasser, the basically the direct lead-in, seemingly, to the Veilguard coming up next. Um, it's definitely going to be an A tier or an S tier. It it's a really well done DLC. Let's put an A and see if I can see if I hype myself up as I talk about it a little bit. This one takes place what 2 years after the events of the main game, after the end. Um, Council's coming up because people are worried how powerful the Inquisition has gotten over the course of the years and worried what the future for it holds. Of course, Corypheus has been defeated. Our whole purpose is done. So they're wondering why we still exist. Of course, don't know. Of course, we kind of get a little bit more going into that as this DLC happens. Um, the base location that this takes place in is really nice. I forget what the castle's called. But eventually, during the trial, you stumble upon a to not a adventure plot, a Canary plot, as Canary have somehow gained way into the grounds, and you find out that it's from Alluvians that they're using to sneak in. So you kind of start tracking what these to the why do I keep trying to say to venture these Canary are up to. Um, I will say one aspect I was kind of disappointed in the fact that it take place 2 years after the end of the main game, and it supposedly has like the Inquisition coming back together because some people kind of went their own way a little bit after the game. I'm very sad there was no like getting the band back together kind of missions or quests. Like you have to go out and find uh the others to bring them back. But I guess it makes sense because that's kind of what you do in the main game. You got to go out and recruit all of them, pick them up. But I was just kind of a little disappointed in that one. But yeah, it was cool to kind of catch up on everybody, seeing where everybody is at after the events of the game. Traveling through the Alluvians is was dope. It was really cool. There's secret passages you can go and explore. Some tough boss fights in there. The Canary are hard as hell to fight. They're actually pretty damn tough. That first location is great. I forget what it's called, but one with like the islands on the different spots and seeing the Canary fight these guardians. Um, but yeah, basically throughout this, you figure out that the Canary are tracking agents of the Dreadwolf, and they have also infiltrated the grounds. They've actually infiltrated the Inquisition as a whole. They're tracking the Dreadwolf. The Dreadwolf is doing his own thing. Of course, you find you it's eventually revealed that Solas is the Dreadwolf. The Canary are plotting to blow up important locations in Thedas as they look to start their the thing that they do, which is they want to convert everybody to the Qun. You come face to face with Solas at the end. Oh, by the way, there's like a power thing with the anchor. It creates like this explosion power. It's a shield actually. It's a shield and it like reveals things. But once you get to the end, it's kind of getting out of control and it started to actually kill the Inquisitor. And by the time you get to like the final spot, it's like unstable and it will like build up power and you have to do the move in order to like release it, or else it'll go haywire and blow up, hurting you and your allies. That was really dope. But you come face to face with Solas. He reveals what he's trying to do. He's trying to restore the elves to the glory they had before. And he's going to do that by removing the veil and allowing the real world and the fade to be one yet again. We get the truth about the Elven gods, how they weren't actually gods, but they were just powerful mages who would grow to be revered as gods. Um, what else? Yeah, so that was his mission statement. You can vow to either to stop him by showing him that the world should be saved, or by just fighting him and probably just like killing him in the end. And then another big choice you have to decide is if you want to keep the Inquisition around as a force working directly underneath the divine, but it could still be infiltrated and by spies, or do you disband them and try to handle Solos with a smaller group, but you won't have to worry about being infiltrated. And of course, it ends with us showing that we're heading to Venture, which, like I said, is a direct lead in to the events of the Veil Guard. So yeah, Trespasser, I'll keep it 8. I'll keep it as an A tier. It is actually a really well done DLC. The banter that everybody has now that you come back together. Um, oh, the whole thing with bringing Iron Bull's choice back into the fold. Of course, his loyalty mission involves either him staying loyal to the Qun and sacrificing his little group, his little army, Bull Chargers, or going Talvashoth and saving his friends. But he goes Talvashoth in the end. If he goes Talvashoth, he's fine. But if you sacrifice the Chargers and he's a Canary, then once you're fighting them, he will actually betray you because now he's fighting for the Qun as opposed to being Talvashoth. So that was really cool. Um, what else happens here? Trying to think of anything else specific to people. Viscount. What? Varric is the Viscount of Kirkwall now. Um, Dorian has stepped up now that he's back into Venter. He's in a higher position now. I think that's about it. Of course, Divine. It could be Liliana, Vivian, or Cassandra, depending on the choice you made in the main game. But yeah, but I feel confident as an A tier. I feel confident putting that in an A tier mission. So that is it. That is my official final ranking of all of the main quests in Dragon Age. In the Dragon Age trilogy. Of course, we got a whole new game coming up very, very soon. And maybe some point we'll come back to this and we'll see where the main quest lines for the Veilguard rank among its predecessors here. But yeah, this is my final list. I'm not going to rearrange anything in terms of like ranking within the tiers. But this is what I got. Some of my favorite quest lines are up here. I feel comfortable with it. Of course, feel free to argue with me. Not argue with me. Don't do that. Feel free to let me know where some of your favorite quest lines both rank among here. Did I put some of your favorites high? Did I put them too low? Are they great where they are? Let me know down in the comments below. Of course, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Let your boy know how he's doing. Um, yeah. So next week we will have our Dragon Age special. If you don't know, I tend to do just kind of a special episode leading up to the big release of something. I believe the previous ones we've had were the Mass Effect special leading up to the release of the Legendary Edition, um, and then the Saints Row special, which led up to the release of the Saints Row reboot game that dropped like 2020, I think. Yeah, so this is our third one here. So we'll have that. Message me talking about my history with the game, the things I like the most about it, maybe some things I didn't like too much about it. Basically, I just ramble on about Dragon Age for a little bit. So that's going to be the next one, and of course, that is going to come out in launch week, as the game will be coming out next week. So we are nearly there, people. We are almost there. Of course, I will be streaming the first 3 days, 31st, the first and the second. I'll be streaming those episodes. They will eventually make their way onto YouTube. And then after that, we'll have our usual YouTube walkthrough going up after that. So are you excited as I am? Let me know. But thank you all so much for watching. I very much do appreciate it. This was about just as long, if not longer, than the other one. 40 minutes, my ass. All right. So thank you all so much for watching. I very much do appreciate it. Until next time, everybody, always remember to keep watching, to keep playing, and to stay awesome. I will see you all next time. Goodbye.